It's time for the midweek strategists to assemble and spread their great and unmatched wisdom to us mere mortals about the politics of the day. Hey, if Trump can describe them that way, anyone can. Nathan Cullen is a now former NDP MP.
Now former
NDP MP from Northern BC. Gary Keller, a former Conservative insider who now works at Strategy Corp. Omar Khan, a Liberal leaner from Hill and Knowlton Strategies. Welcome to you all. Omar, you're in Toronto. I want to start with Peter MacKay. Peter MacKay was at a Canadian Institute today, and I think we have a clip of this. On the question of Andrew Scheer losing the election, should have won, MacKay had this to say.
Yet the result was a strong minority for the Liberals and a resurgent bloc. And so I think what I'm going to do is just ask you the question that everyone's thinking is, what exactly happened?
Yeah, to use a good Canadian analogy, it was like having a breakaway on an open net and missing the net.
Breakaway on an open net. In other words, that sounds like a bid firming up to me. Omar, let's start with you for fun. With friends like that, do you need enemies?
Well, you don't need enemies. But look, I think the fundamental problem that Andrew Scheer faced in this campaign is that if you take Saskatchewan and Alberta out of the equation for a second, on the popular vote, the Conservatives got 27%. They got 27%. 27% in every province other than Alberta and Saskatchewan. You know, completely obliterated in Ontario. The share of the popular vote actually went down in Ontario. You cannot win a general election, a federal general election in this country, if you are nowhere on the map in Ontario and Quebec, and right now they are nowhere.
Okay, but didn't quite deal with the Peter MacKay story. But do you look at that as a hostile comment and maybe someone that's threatening Andrew Scheer's leadership, Gary Keller?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of talk right now about what the Conservatives should do, and a lot of people who are disappointed with the result and like to say they're kind of lighting themselves on fire and getting ready to jump out the window. My thing has been everybody needs to take a deep breath, Peter MacKay included, and let the leader focus on what he needs to do in the short term and with caucus. What Peter is doing, what he did during the leadership race when, he didn't know anything about, or it's not the leadership, during the campaign. We didn't know anything about what was going on, and now is poking around. Extremely unhelpful, and he knows that, and I think he's actually doing himself some damage if he does have aspirations. And if it was such an easy breakaway, why didn't he run for leader in the first place?
Wasn't a breakaway on an open net, and is Peter MacKay going to be a thorn in Andrew Scheer's side, Nathan?
It sounds like that's Peter's strategy. I mean, the phone calls have been happening. Peter's been phoning a lot of journalist friends of mine and just checking in, you know, seeing how things are going. He clearly wants to place himself as the successor if Andrew continues to get, Scheer gets these calls for him to step down. You know, how is this going to be settled out? Is it going to be just knives in the back, or is it going to be the party that decides that Scheer doesn't get another shot? I think what complicates it, of course, is the minority parliament. Is there space to go through all of that? And I think the knives it surprises me a little bit, Don. You know, I mean, I know Andrew Scheer, and I thought he would be given another shot. Trudeau lost 1 million votes. He was reduced from majority to minority with a good economy in hand. Seems like we're on the verge of a recession, and it's going to be tough for him to have those same deck of cards played for him the second time around. I thought Scheer would get more of a runway to settle things out, make some phone calls, and bring the family together. Maybe the culture of this Conservative Party isn't that way. Maybe it's a bit more brutal.
NDP didn't exactly give Tom Mulcair a second shot.
No, and so that's a question about, if you go back through history, if you were the opposition leader, the official opposition leader, and you lose, do you get that second chance? And the history is no. You don't.
But they gave, Tom a lot of opportunity to.
Come right to you.
They gave Mulcair some opportunity. It wasn't right after the election.
No, that's true.
The only party that is more intensive about taking down leaders and unhappiness than the Liberals are Conservative. It's like a sport for Conservatives, and that's why everybody just needs to take a deep breath. I mean, he's got caucus to face in a week.
That'll be telling.
That'll be a telling sign.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say an interesting piece is like, where do the Conservative premiers and their teams weigh in on this, right? So we saw key operatives of Premier Ford on national television on election night, you know, maybe not knifing in the back, but, you know, kind of sharpening the knives at least for everybody to see. So it'll be very interesting to see where Premier Kenney, Premier Ford, and others end up landing on this. You know, he's got a little bit of runway. I think the review is about a year away or so. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's also a lot of time to take darts,
April.
right? Yeah, April, is that right? Yeah. It's a lot of time to take darts.
Omar, I'll stick with you on this one. I'm curious. The Liberals need a Western voice. Michelle Rempel saying, hey, look at the Conservatives. We're out here. We're the Western voice. Listen to us. That's not very likely. But who should Justin Trudeau? I mean, the Senate's out. Do you put a prominent business person in? Do you try and get that NDP MP to cross the floor that sits in downtown Edmonton? What do you do?
Well, I think, I think I speak for a lot of Liberals out there who say that I think there's an opportunity here for some form of senior role within this government for Ralph Goodale, whether that's as a cabinet minister or in the Prime Minister's office, special advisor, I don't know. But I think a lot of Liberals would like to see some senior role for him. Look, there are ways outside of cabinet appointments to utilize expertise and experience. So, the name of Calgary Mayor Naheed Nenshi has been thrown out there. Alison Redford. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Is, right?
But there are many folks out there from Alberta and Saskatchewan who are committed to public service and could play a prominent role in this government, whatever that may be.
I think they're calling, one of Jason Kenney's ministers is calling Nenshi Trudeau's mayor.
Exactly. Well, the finance minister from Alberta called him that. So
exactly. A pretty popular mayor, though.
He is a popular mayor, but I guess it depends on what the goal is. Is the goal trying to reach out to not just Albertans, but the Albertan government? Is the goal reaching out to the Saskatchewan and the Saskatchewan government? You have to pick carefully then, because Mayor Nenshi is popular within Calgary, within the voters that vote for him, but not so popular with the Albertan government of Jason Kenney. Depends on what Trudeau's trying to do. Appointing a senator seems like it's off the table, because that would be the opposite of an independent Senate. Right. So I think his list is actually going to be quite short of people who will be sympathetic to his government, but who can credibly represent Albertan and Saskatchewan views for his government.
I mean, the people that have been floated are completely polarizing. Nenshi is a polarizing figure in the city of Calgary. Either love him or
floated
hate
that
him.
figure in his name once, and the vitriol on social media.
How does that go for you?
I'm going to throw out a name. I'm going to throw out a name.
Did she smell another expense account coming around here?
I'm going to throw out a crazy name. How about Joe Clark? Throwing it out there.
Don't even get me started.
I don't believe Joe Clark.
There's no way.
Find his way
no way.
around
just causing trouble.
Do a copy of what Jason Kenney did.
Just causing trouble.
Jason Kenney, in his bid to establish some parameters around the finances of Alberta, he said he brought in Mike Percy, is a former Liberal MLA. He brought in Janice McKinnon, a former NDP finance minister from Saskatchewan. They just appointed Mark McQuaid-Boyd, the former NDP energy minister, to a position. Could the Liberals cobble together a body of people, a small body, but includes maybe some former elected Conservative officials that could bridge that gap? As for Ralph Goodale, I think that doesn't actually help the situation. He might be somebody they could consult with, but he just got defeated in an election campaign and saying, well, we're going to we're going to still appoint him to a position, whether even if it's not an appointed position or whatever. It's a problem for them.
Again, what's your goal? And if you're going to take someone who's Ralph's capable and smart and very experienced, but was just had his clock cleaned by the voters who could have sent him here. So if you're trying to say to people, Saskatchewan, I hear you, I'm going to put somebody in that you just voted out, would be a strange choice.
Omar, very quickly, does the Liberals, is your sense the Liberals under Trudeau are going to listen to the NDP? They're trying to lay down ultimatum tracks today, and I just wonder if Trudeau's going to pay any heed to that or just govern and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, you got to get a throne speech passed, right? So that's probably the first order of business. And look, I think there's common ground to be found with all of the parties in Parliament. It just may not always overlap. So I know those discussions are happening and plans are being worked out. But whether or not the government of the day should be beholden to any one party, that's not something I agree with. I think they can work on an issue by issue basis with all parties in Parliament, and that's how it should be.
Nathan?
Well, if Trudeau was smart, he'd be hugging Jagmeet Singh as much as he possibly can, and on issues that the NDP put. I don't say that as a partisan. I think because Trudeau tacked into Jagmeet Singh's and NDP territory throughout the last days of the campaign. We're going to bring in pharmacare, says Trudeau. If he's smart, he will give those New Democrats those wins, which in the short term might look like he's not as independent and strong, but over the long term, I think would be smart for him. Is he going to take the lesson of humility from this, Don? He just went up against 3 rookie leaders and Elizabeth May, who's quitting as leader, and he lost 1 million votes with a strong economy. If he's going to take from that, I'm awesome and everyone still loves me and I'm Justin Trudeau, that'd be a totally bad reading from what the electorate just said.
Quick last word.
Yeah, look, NDP right now is leader rich, party poor. Maybe they get some bump with Jagmeet, and that gives them some energy. But Trudeau right now, I think he is in a case-by-case situation. His press conference after the election, the first two things he announced he was going to do, middle-class tax cut and TMX pipelines. That's not in keeping with the NDP priorities.
A strange message.
And I think the NDP and Jagmeet Singh overestimate the amount of power they have currently.
It's also very hard to vote
Very
down.
interesting discussion. Yeah, that's true. Impossible. All right, thank you all. We'll talk to you again soon.